Now that we have relationship between courses and lessons defined, we can go ahead and create page for individual lessons. So when we're going to click on these lesson blocks, we're about to be redirected to the lesson page. And the first thing that I'm going to do is to define a route for this page. Let's go and open up web.php and create new route definition. The path for this route will be lessons with dynamic segment that will be called lesson. Here we're going to specify an identifier of the particular lesson that we are about to show on this page. And Laravel is going to automatically fetch this lesson by the identifier from the database and send it over to the parameter of the handler that is going to handle this page request. So we're also going to create new controller for this route called lesson controller and specify that the action that is going to handle this route will be called show. Also, let's give a name for this route. According to the convention that we are following, we're going to call this route as lessons.show, where the first word corresponds to the resource and the second one corresponds to the action. We don't have lesson controller yet, so let's open up terminal and run the command to create new controller, make controller. In here, let's assign the name to this controller. I'm gonna call it lesson controller. Here we need to choose empty controller. And once it will be created, let's go back to the editor. Do not forget to import this controller class in the file with the routes. And now we can create the method inside lesson controller for handling requests to the lesson page. So let's call this method show, and we're going to return the view from this method. And just because this route has dynamic segment that is supposed to be the lesson, we're going to add one parameter in here called lesson. This will be a lesson model, and Laravel, based on the specified lesson identifier in the address bar, is going to automatically fetch the appropriate lesson model from the database and pass it into this parameter. So we can go ahead and pass it down further into the view. Firstly, let's just specify proper template, which will be stored under the lessons folder with the name show. And right here, I'm going to use compact function to create associative array with one key called lesson and the value which corresponds to the lesson variable. And then let's go ahead and create this template. This will be pretty similar to the course page, so we can copy the whole content from the template of the course page and paste it onto the lesson page right here. For now, we're only going to show the lesson title. So let's just reference lesson model and use title property like this. And just to be able to click on those lesson blocks, we have to actually assign proper address to those links. Let's open up lessons.blade.php. This is the template which has all that list of lessons. And before actually assigning the address to the link, I'm going to extract this markup of individual lesson block and create new component for it. Let's call this component card that is going to be stored under lesson folder. And by the way, this folder is going to contain all the components that are somehow related to the lesson resource. And now we can finally assign proper address to the href attribute of this link. And by the way, there is a similar address that is already used inside another card component which represents course block. And by the way, we don't need to even reference ID property of the course. And if we're gonna leave it as is without using ID, Laravel is going to automatically extract an identifier of this course. So let's copy the value of this href attribute and move it to our link of the lesson block. But of course, in here we have to reference lesson model and lessons.show route name like this. And currently this lesson variable is not defined in this view yet, so we have to pass it from outside. I'm going to add prop with the name lesson and pass this variable by using shorthand notation like this. And eventually, let's check the result. Let's try to click on one of these lesson blocks. We're supposed to be redirected to a separate lesson page, and we are. As we can see, the address contains the lesson identifier, so we can easily show any lesson by simply using different identifiers. So that's about it for this lesson. We're going to continue working on the lesson page in the next one.